And hello, everyone. This is a very exciting day for me, as all days are, but this one just is like the cherry on the icing kind of day. I've got two of my favorite guys on a call, and one I have known for over 20 years. I'm not going to tell you how many years over 20 because they just don't count anymore. And the other one, I've known probably for what, 15? When did you start, Eric? When did you
15, yeah, we started 15
years.
2006.
God. Okay, I'm going to edit that out of this version. Thanks. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Akathame, we are an international firm focused on delivering exceptional experiences for talent and client internationally. And one of our favorite people here from London is Stevie Hudson. He is the CEO and founder of Superstars. I'll let him introduce himself to a greater extent in a moment. And the next is Eric Gregg, who is the CEO and founder of Clearly Rated. And that company has gone through a couple of different name changes. So if you've been in the industry, in the staffing industry for a while, you might recognize Innovero. I can't remember what was before Innovero, Greg. What was the first one?
It was iLoyalty, Lee, because as anybody knows, every good company changes their name all the time. It's part of that strategy.
Yeah, it's part of this. Not only that, you're defining what you're doing and how you're doing it. There's a lot that goes into a company startup, as both of you very well know. So to make sure that we level set the room, I want to welcome all of you who are joining from our Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube domains. Please do type your questions, and I promise I'll get them to these two. And this will be recorded, obviously, and so you can view it at any time. So let's just dig in. Stevie, tell us a little bit about Superstars. And oh, by the way, we're going to be talking about improving CX within the staffing industry. And I'll be telling you why I'm focused on this hardcore in just a little bit. Stevie, tell us about yourself.
Sure. My name's Stevie Hudson. I'm as you mentioned, the founder of Superstars. I've had the pleasure of running this company for 8 years, and I see us as a diamond in the rough in this wonderful world of staffing. And basically, I look after human beings to give you a real human experience to find you the ultimate role for yourself. And basically, we try that in a number of ways, but most important is being nice, being respectful, and actually come up with a new way of looking after you on a recruitment basis as well. So Superstars really started from an innovation from LinkedIn, really, when we had a huge portal about thousands and thousands of people being on there, and I was pre-250,000. And I thought, that's fantastic, but who are these people? So with all my career, and I've done 12,500 interviews in my career so far, I've always done things on a face-to-face basis. So I've created this company to meet real people, to really understand what their needs are and put them into real jobs. So I have those great relationships with talent, some I've known for over 15 years, into these wonderful places. So it's been dead fun, and we're just looking at different ways of doing things every single day. So, and it's really important that we've got to really understand that recruitment is not about money making. It's about making a difference to people's lives. And that's what I absolutely believe in.
Yeah, you don't hear that too often, do you, Eric? This is a man who's on a mission. All right, so Eric, let's talk about your mission because, how did you come into doing what you're doing, and tell everybody what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I think we're actually driven, Stevie, a lot by the same things, which is this, fundamental expectation that if you treat people really well, it's the right thing to do for them, for you, and for your business. And so Clearly Rated is founded really on the principle that everybody deserves to be treated extremely well. And the firms that treat people extremely well should have disproportionate opportunities to grow. And so we focus on utilizing the NetPromoter Score methodology to measure client satisfaction, talent satisfaction of placed talent, and just this year, internal employee satisfaction as well. And then we combine that with a marketplace online called clearlyrated.com, where we bring transparency to those service experiences, allowing the talent out there, the job candidates, the hiring managers, and even the internal staff to really get an accurate view on how a particular staffing recruiting firm views that experience.
Okay, gentlemen, it's time. I'm putting on my glasses and we're going to get serious about asking some tough questions. And there is one question that I did not include. So for, disclosure to the group, I always provide my guests with a list of questions ahead of time. And as usual, I have others that were not exactly prepared for them, but I'm going to ask them anyway. Why does the staffing industry suck so much? Why is it that this industry can be $152 billion in revenue and have a -2 NPS rating? How do they get away with this? I'm going to start with you, Eric.
Yeah, I think that there's a fundamental demand for flexibility in the workforce. And I actually think over the course of the last decade, and especially if you look at the numbers as we emerge from a recession, there is a newfound demand and appreciation for flexibility. And I think the numbers suggest that people are getting more strategic with their flexible workforce. It's less about, oh, this person's going to be out for 3 months and we need somebody to fill in. And it's more about, do we have the right skills and do we have the right team in place for a particular project as a part of that. So I think there's this underlying demand, and then there's a tremendous amount of fragmentation. So for a hiring manager, for a job candidate, that there's a real missed opportunity in terms of really understanding and trusting the firm that they're engaging with. And so as we continue to grow, I absolutely do think that the average client experience, and through our program, Best of Staffing, the average of the winners of Best of Staffing is over 70% Net Promoter Score. So that's world-class level. And so there are great providers out there, but there's a whole bunch whose entire model is churn and burn, and there'll be another body, and there'll be another person hiring, and there's a disinformation within the industry that kind of allows that to continue, in my opinion.
So what percentage of companies, Eric, are actually, if you look at the industry as a whole, what's the percentage of them on that best in class level?
Yeah, less than 2%. Less than 2% have earned that distinction as a part of that. And we set that at a 50 NPS, which is considered to be excellent. The majority actually, if they achieve that, end up in that, moving towards that 70, which is considered world-class. But it's a really small percentage. And again, that there's a whole bunch of universal truths, and you and Stevie both saw them, and continue to see them to this day. There's a bunch of these universal truths that just aren't true, right? That, that the business is going to suffer 28% turnover of internal staff, and that's just part of this industry. That's not. I see firsthand firms that avoid that and grow faster because of it. People that used to think, it's changing some, but that used to think, hey, if we have the job candidates will be there for us. And that's not true, right? The number one way that people vet a staffing firm right now, job candidates, is online ratings and reviews. It's actually more trusted even than a personal referral now, and significantly more trusted when you look at Gen Y and younger. So we're going through a pretty rapid transformation. You can look at Upwork and other talent marketplaces and the pressure that I think they're putting on the industry and will continue to put on the industry to get better. The demand's there. The product fits what we need, right? Which is talent when you need it and the right skills. The problem is that we are oftentimes our own worst enemies in the industry.
No argument.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, as you said, there's a couple of things going on there which hit home. It's like, 2%, that's just absolutely shocking. But so the good news is there's 2% out there that are making a difference, who are trying to do this thing in a different way like we are. So the point is that I absolutely, completely believe you, Eric, about the online review situation. That's been going on for a number of years now, and it's just got stronger and stronger and stronger. So why on earth then are we still basing staffing on KPIs and all these different things, which are not even humanistic? It's just like, so recruiters out there have been told, get 50 CVs out there because you'll get one interview. Get 400 people out in front of somebody, you'll get a placement. I mean, those are just kind of ridiculous things to do to people. So there's no kind of human relationship situation going on. The way Superstars works is that we always get a 95% hit rate with all our CVs put forward, because yes, of course, we're going through all the CVs, but we see as all human individuals, right? So what is this nonsense that's going on about when the content management systems are sending out emails and saying, if you do not reply to you in 2 weeks, you're not suitable for this role? That's awful. That's just telling talent out there, you're rubbish.
Yeah.
What is that about? You know, I've gone through this and I've challenged huge corporate companies in this world, especially in the UK. And I can think of one particular consultancy company. They were happy with a rate of issue of like 25 to 1, of 25 talent being seen to get one placement. I said, that's not even the national average. It's down to about 6 to 1 for a star. But that's because they were so lost in this figure world of graphs showing them amounts of people coming into them, and there was no talent relations. So I challenged them. I said, I'm going to jump on this for 1 week and let's see what difference I make. So I jumped on it for 1 week, and there was about 1,000 CVs that came through the content management system. I responded literally to every single one within 2 days. And even because 60% of those CVs were people who didn't have visas and stuff like that, but they don't know. So if you're sending a 2-week thing back to them, they don't know. So when I responded back to them and said, look, you need to have this kind of visa, that kind of thing, and gave them a link, which took me about 2 minutes to do, and sat that back, the retention rate we got on that was huge. Like the PR piece for that company went up by 100% because I actually responded back with a human thing to say to them and do this. And that was just a simple thing. And I put forward and I said, okay, there's 3 different sorts of recruiters. There's admin recruiters who are extremely important. There's the social media recruiters that are extremely important. And then human recruiters. These are the people that do face-to-face and talk to people and actually have a relationship with somebody. You cannot do that by an email, on WhatsApp, or texting on that. You have to do that by doing this. And in this strange COVID world of ours, this has become even more predominant, even more important to us. And yes, I love meeting people. 12,500 people tell you that, and that's worldwide. And do you know what? I got 12,500 friends out there who want to work with me and look after me. And I just do not understand why this recruitment, wonderful industry of ours, is such a powerful tool to make a difference to people's lives, that we're not treating it properly. I don't understand it. And
well, are we not treated properly? We're not treated properly because we don't demand it. We don't ask for it. And we don't behave like we should deserve it. So we have lowered, I think we've lowered our rates to the point of becoming transactional, becoming of no value other than speed and quantity of resumes shuffled in through a system. And, you know, your relationship is only as good as your last placement.
Right.
So when you look at all of that, I mean, let's go back to Eric. So when you look at all of that, Eric, are the companies that are best in class, are they part of that, that wheel of churn and burn in candidates and what have you?
Yeah, I think that almost every staffing firm out there, even the ones that are truly getting to exceptional or even world-class levels of satisfaction, suffer from some of this. I think certainly the scores are a predictor of those that are doing more to combat it than others, right? That are adding more of the human element into it, and we see it a lot. One of the big questions I get a lot is is machine learning and AI going to replace the recruiter?
Steve is laughing.
And my answer is, it's not going to replace the good recruiter. It's going to replace the shitty recruiter. The shitty recruiter is not providing context, is not providing background, is not providing value added. But I think 2 things that I guess I see that again fall into that universal truths that I just don't think are true within the recruitment industry. That the first is that there's a certain acceptable level of assignment failure that is just going to happen. When you look in the industrial space, it's not uncommon. Even really good providers have an assignment success rate of less than 50%. And they sort of just accept that, where to me, that is a fundamental flaw as a part of that. And then the other aspect of this, and it gets back, Stevie, to what you said about just the respect or lack thereof that we oftentimes give our talent pool. Think about them, we're talking about them as talent. And when you two were both at Aquint talked about them as talent, was one of the first ones to talk about them as talent. However, most of the industry refers to them as what?
Temps.
Contingents. What person on God's green earth grows up and says, you know what, when I grow up, I'm going to be a contingent? I mean, it's not aspirational. And in fact, it's part of the reason why we find in our industry studies that, close to 25% of people say that they would rather have a gap in their resume than to list a temporary assignment. It's because we have done it to ourselves. We've basically branded ourselves at the bottom of the barrel as an industry, and we have to really, remedy that with how we act.
Yeah,
Yep.
and absolutely. And I think that's a lot to do with, if you look at the recruitment space, and Lee, you were a phenomenal trainer because you did a human approach to how to look after people, which was what, I learned and respected. And I learned my skills from my dad's fish and chip shop when I was 12 years old. Yeah. So, when they were coming in and we had customers, we had a good product and we had to serve them well. And it was about being nice and respectful and giving them a great product. That's what staffing should be, right? We should be there, right? We should be there as, like, we're human beings with skills and experience. That means that we can really grow to make dreams come true. And I absolutely 1,000,000% believe that. Every time I sort of meet a talent, they always say to me, oh, wow, that was such a refreshing change. And I'm so sad to keep hearing that. I'm doing like 15 to 20 interviews a week. And do you know what's been really interesting for the COVID time? I've consistently done that. So I was there in the UK when the toilet rolls were running out. So I was giving them talents to go get their toilet rolls to help them out. We've gone through 3 sets of massive redundancies in the UK, counselling through those redundancies and helping them and actually placing those people into future jobs, of course, which has been amazing. But also, more importantly, now I've been telling them about the vaccination process, which is now up to just under 21 million people out here have been vaccinated. And so therefore, we have to sort of keep getting these messages true. Now, if we were typical recruiters, all we'd be doing is this, isn't it? How much do you want? Where do you want to go? And this is all be over the phone. No, the way you should be doing it is talking to people, meeting people, be a part of their communities. So I'm honoured and blessed to help a lot of people during this hard time for us all in the world to get them to the next stages of their lives. And I think that is the key thing. But we don't get trained that, except for exceptional, as you said, these top class companies. The normal is like KPIs, numbers, because that means money. For me, it's about human beings getting these great jobs. And guess what? It makes me money because I get people who care about me and they become my clients of the future. And my clients go back 10 years in some cases because they trust me. I've become their true talent partner. And that's what we've always been about. So I think it's really important that we have to approach this in different ways. I love what you're doing. I think is amazing because that's a real clear, data-driven process to show people, look, this is what's going on. I've never seen that in my career as I grow. There's lots of people talking about it. We always shout about it, but now we can have some real proof of that. So now the larger corporates and other companies can embrace that and start making a difference and change because we have to change. And this is just the same for external recruiters as for internal recruiters. It's the same kind of scenario, right? So we need to make sure, and not even, here's just a quickie, is that during the hard times when Superstars was under threat due to the COVID and Brexit and everything else, I put myself on the job market. I wanted to see what the candidate experience was for me. And I'm pretty well known, so I knew I was going to get some strange stuff. I was horrified.
What did you see?
Horrified.
What did you get, Stevie?
Well, one of the most amazing high-end companies that everybody sees as the most innovative companies in the world basically said to me they were going to meet me at a certain time. So I made myself ready for that. And then on the day before, they called me for the actual interview. So basically, they booked me in for 9:30 on Friday and called me at Thursday at 5 and said, oh, can we do this interview? I mean, what kind of experience is that to any talent that's gone through that? And sadly, that's normal. I've seen that happen. And I have a list of like all the different horror stories I get from talent. And the way I have to sort of justify all the time what they've been doing because of the pressure they've been under. But also it's a case of we have, all of us, all three of us have to go through this kind of, well, first barrier is like, you're a recruiter, or, before you even get somewhere. So we've got to try and destroy that and show this world that this could be the most amazing job for somebody and you really can meet some amazing people that I have and learn loads. And you only do that by building a relationship with somebody, by being face to face. And you can't do it any other way. And with technology, we can do that now.
And I want to talk about that. I want to build that, talk about what relationship looks like with both of you, because I think that we use that word just like we use the word authenticity, kind of like toilet paper during COVID. We've got to, if we're gonna unroll it, if we're gonna roll out the toilet paper, we need to make sure that it is steady and soft. So hold on to that thought for just a second. Ann Mosier, I don't know if you remember Ann, Stevie. Every now and then. So Eric, you're getting some originals from Aquent. Is the NPS impacted by the client company's reputation? If the client company is a poor workplace, the placed employee may connect the client reputation with the staffing firm. That is a very intricate and interesting question I never thought of. So why don't we start with Eric on this?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. It does impact the reputation of the staffing firm, and the only slightly longer answer is that it should. If ultimately a talent, job candidate is placing a certain amount of trust in you to help guide their job search, and you're placing them with somebody who is treating them poorly, then that's not just on the end client company. That is on the company that thought that they should partner with that end client company as a part of that. And so I tell people, if you're looking to improve this, some of this is firing your worst clients, and they're not hard to find. What's interesting is the ones that bought because the staffing firm was the lowest cost opportunity that they had. The NPS for those firms is significantly lower. Detractors are twice as likely to be a detractor in that audience than they are for people that buy on other, on a referral or on online reviews or things along those lines. So, that pain in the ass during the sales process is going to be a pain in the ass as a client as well. And if they're treating you poorly, do you really think that they're going to treat your talent that much better? So I think it's actually beholden. We do have a number of people that actually ask questions, and one of our standard questions now is, have you been treated well by the company that you've been placed with? Because to some extent, we need to hold that end client accountable, both for our own reputation, but also as one of the fundamental services that we provide the talent that we place.
Sorry about that. I love these live broadcasts when my phone wasn't turned off and the neighborhood dogs start barking. And the best is when I've got, 120 pounds of dogs running on top of me when they come in. So it's a live broadcast. And so speaking of which, yes, I agree with you. So Anne, I think that answers the question that you said, that you asked, and that answer is yes. So what I find fascinating is that it's very hard to let go of revenue, right? Yeah. And so and Stevie, I want to pose this question to you. At what point do you make the decision, you have to make a choice between revenue, market share, or not, right? So where is that business line? Where's that business decision made for you?
So for me, if I look at it this way, I take a step back from everything and seeing what the problem is. First and foremost, it's like if the team are getting involved with the client and they're starting to get bad misinformation straight away, I'm involved with them and seeing what's going on. So it could be just miscommunication going on. There could have been a particular bad manager at that time. There's always a story on that side. But if this story is consistent, then I have to make a choice. Does it fit to the be the hero policies of superstars or not? So it gets more kind of a moral stuff before it actually becomes a revenue. But it may be a client that has been working with us who have been fantastic and done great diversity stuff and things like that, and then just dropped off. And then we have to go back and we have to say, listen, and I've done this, I've sacked 3 or 4, well, actually several clients, and said, look, this is what the talent is telling me. You're telling me this story, but the talent is telling me this. They're living this on the ground. But because I've got that reputation and that relationship with the talent, I'm getting the true story, right? So therefore, I'm seen as somebody who comes back as an informal talent director and saying, this is what's going on. So once you start to understand the story, then you can see the revenue stream. and go, this is not worth it, because say I made, I don't know, say something small, $100,000. But if you look at that in another situation, that $100,000 I just made has created $900,000 of bad reputation. I've lost $900,000 of business. And that is what you should be looking at. It's like, is this company, and you know in your gut feeling, and we're all told off about using gut feeling, but I think it's essential. It's like, you need to know, and if you've got those relationships with your talent and your clients, you're going to know pretty quickly to stop you having a $900,000 loss. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm just taking notes here. So what's the impact on the brand and the revenue? So, and they're so closely tied, right?
Absolutely.
So and Eric is nodding his head, yes.
Yeah.
So do you think that, so let me ask you both, if I'm opening up a staffing company tomorrow, and I say, what is the most important thing that I should focus on in driving my brand and in driving that customer experience to an exceptional level, world class? Like how many, by the way, how many world class 70 NPS staffing firms are out there, Eric?
I mean, again, as a percentage, it's small. I don't know what that number is. Is it 1%?
Yeah, I was just going to say, do we have any really?
Yeah, we do actually, and there's even some of pretty considerable size. If you look at the 30 largest in the U.S., for example, there's 2 or 3 that are either at or sort of knocking on sort of consistent world-class experiences. But what's interesting on that is even at the large staffing firms, one of the big challenges that they have is not getting to a world-class experience in a location or a few locations. It's getting that consistently. And I think that kind of goes into what your question is, which is, we sort of at this level, we stew about the process and every little thing. Well, what's broken in our process? What's broken in our process? And most of the time, what we find is that for every one thing that's maybe broken in the process, there's 10 things that just aren't people adhering to the process. So you'll have in Portland, Oregon, a branch that's got an NPS of 75, 80, above world class. And just up the I-5 freeway in Seattle, that maybe is 20. 10, maybe negative, and the same training, the same sort of incentive structure, the same outcomes, KPIs as a part of that, and 2 radically different experiences there. So I think that matters a lot, and it gets back to what Stevie said right at the start, which is just be nice. And a lot of times what people say is like, well, what are the great firms doing differently? They're trying harder. They care more about it, and it's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. But they go that extra mile. They're driven by the positive feedback that they get from the talent and from their clients of really helping people out.
Excellent, Stevie. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I 100% agree with you on that. And I've got real-time experience of doing that already. So it's very important for me. It's like, to understand, when you meet people and on a proper way, and you talk to people and you get those relationships, then that starts opening up a whole new world for you on that side of things. So to add to all those experiences that you're talking about. So for instance, I was thinking when I was running in the old days of the other companies and stuff, it's like, it's true. You train people consistently on what you want to offer, but each of those are individual humans, and they will just interact in a different kind of way. So you've got to start recognizing that some people have bad days and some people have good days. So you see what the impact is going on from that side. But the most important thing is also, that's why I call it the be the hero policy. It's like, as recruiters, we get hit by all sorts of stuff from tradition because we're seen negatively. And when there is the really brilliant stuff and we get seen as the good stuff, it's sometimes very difficult to get that good stuff across, because even if my situation, we try and get as much really positive feedback as well, because I thrive on it. It's wonderful. But then you'll get a negative thing. And, we do mess up. We do things wrong. But the point is then having the bravery and the heart to say, I was wrong. I've learned from this. Let's do this better. And how are we going to do that? And that's what changes your processes for the future. But I think that the key thing is that you've always just got to remember, it's like, when I was looking for a job, how did I feel? So what am I going to go through to make sure that that other person I'm trying to find a job for has a much positive, much better experience? And that's what you've got to keep on doing from the top level all the way through down to the bottom. And there's lots of fun things and ways of doing that. It's like being a part of the communities. You know, when we were allowed to go see people, you know, we had little like pub things that people come to the pub and I would just sit there and talk to people and they could ask me any question they want on that side of things. And we'd help them in that sort of stuff. You know, at the moment we're going to do this event in October that I'm going to, so the profits of that is going to go to charity. So, because Parkinson's and cancer is very important to me. So we're giving that profit to them. So that's the beauty of all these different things that we want to do for the future, is that you've got to have that kind of mindset change of how to deal with talent, because talent are human beings and those human beings will create your business. They want, you know, you have to have that. So being nice, being respectful, being passionate about learning and learning more about new technologies will lead you the way. And out of the 12,500 people I had the pleasure of meeting, they've taught me a hell of a lot. And it's back to that artificial intelligence. When we get an AI that can actually smell, then we start talking.
So there's a lot to go through in what you just said there, Stevie. So let's see if we can't get, I do want to level set the room again. We are at a half an hour mark. We typically only go a half an hour, but I've asked these guys to be on for 45 minutes because this topic is near and dear to me. We are talking about increasing the customer experience for clients and talent and internal people within the staffing industry. Our staffing industry stinks with this general NPS of a -2 in 2019, a 28 in 2020. And I do want to talk to you, Eric, about why you think that jump happened. Again, you said earlier it was because of the convenience of having the flexibility, but that doesn't tell me really understand, that doesn't help me understand how when we are, or does it, because our revenue went down in 2020, but our experience went up. So so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But for those of you who are just joining, unfortunately, we've had some technical issues with LinkedIn. So if we cut out on you, I'm very sorry. Hopefully you switched over to YouTube or Facebook, and I will post this link to LinkedIn going forward. So I also want to tell you guys that back in when I first got into the staffing industry, it wasn't because I wanted to. I was a high school teacher. And it was just because my best friend in college said, I want you to meet the owner of the staffing company. Well, she was just this very statuesque woman who was, you know, which every, you know, woman would want to grow up to be like if they were going to be a businesswoman. Of course, I was half her height. So that wasn't going to happen. So, needless to say, I told her how much I hated her industry. I told her how much I despise the staffing industry for this one reason. I was on an assignment, as we called it back then, working for the director of the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. While I was in college, I was an executive secretary when I was 15 and a half years old to a small insurance company, only because I was, you know, I have a lot of strong motor skills, so I could type and take shorthand, so that's why. But needless to say, I became this executive assistant there. I was there for months. Not once did I get a phone call asking how I was doing. Not once did I hear from anybody. I was just getting a paycheck. The one time, they were still mailing paychecks. We didn't even have direct deposit back then. The one time that I said, hold my check, I'm going to come to your office and pick it up, they asked me who I was. Then a week or two later, I get the invoice for myself. 300% markup.
Wow.
I went on a 4-year rampage against the staffing industry until I met Bev Slattery, and she said, you can do something to change it. And so ever since then, I've been on this warpath, and it doesn't seem to be working, except in the space that Stevie and I sit in. So there has got to be, and I want to get into the solution on the rest of this call. I really want to talk about the solution. We talked about getting rid of clients who negatively impact our brand. That we can definitely do. And you talked about processes, making sure that we've got the right processes and people adhere to those processes. I want to talk about from a leadership perspective, these heads of these staffing companies, what should they be doing? Because you're both in that spot. What should they be doing to attract and retain the best people in the recruiting industry? And I'm going to start with Stevie.
So the best way to sort of like keep really good people for a start is actually never ever lose the art of recruiting. It's like, so as a founder, I'm still recruiting now. I don't, I'm out there doing it. I mean, my team got to about 20 at one point, and now we've reduced it right down because I want to be part of that. Because when it was 20 or more, I wasn't doing the recruiting, so I couldn't teach or show the way for my future recruiters how to do that. I think also it's about have a culture of open mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes because as human beings, you can talk to each other and resolve them, and it becomes a massive learning for everybody to do that. So that's a really good thing to do. I think it's also about the revenue, the way people make money in recruitment. It's all on this commission basis. I mean, when I originally started in Aquin, I wasn't on commission for, gosh, how many, 14, 15 years, something like that, no, 10 years. And I made loads of money for the company and I got bonuses, but it really made a difference. So, originally when I started Superstars Up, we had a bonus culture. So, and it was based on the human being the hero. Did you do great stuff? Not just on target side of things as well. So, obviously we had to get to something, but we all did that conjointly together. I think it's massively important to be part of the community and you get your team to be part of that community too. So it's a case of, it's not just the big stuff like what Google, LinkedIn, or what everybody else is doing. Local community. There's 5 developers. They need £100 to get themselves going and start a little event thing going for them. We'll give them the money. We don't have to attend. Just give them the money and let them do that. Because what? The word of mouth from them and how we've helped will come back to us. That's the way to do things. So it's about, my old father always said to me, the best way to get great relationships is shake somebody by the hand. He says, you can have an NDA and all these different things and legals and legals and legals. But at the end of the day, shaken by somebody with the hand will get you the best process. And I've always followed that through with all my teams and with my talent. It's always, they know me and they know they can talk to me. And even when there's something wrong, they know I'm not going to shout at them. We're going to talk about it. And that's how we're going to do it. It's an adult to adult relationship. Sure, sometimes I want to strangle and go crazy. I'm a human being too.
Right.
Yeah, but you just have to take that big step. And frankly, after doing 15, 20 interviews a week, I'm exhausted. So I take Friday afternoons off. That's my time. And I go and do what I want to do, which could be life drawing, or it's just in my garden, or it's going to meet my future husband. Who knows? That's what it's all about, really. It's a case of you've just got to be human in this human world, and recruitment sadly has been that. So if you keep it on the human principles, you'll be, I promise you, highly, highly successful. The money will roll in because you're treating people well. And then the reviews will go up. You'll get more talent attraction. You'll get more talent retention. Your own team will be even proud and be more retentive. And that's where you want to go. It's not always about money. The money's always the bottom. It's not the top of a good
Money follows kindness is what I always say. Money
Yeah.
follows kindness. And you also have to be mildly intelligent. I think that helps too. Do something for the right reason that makes sense. I think I captured the essence of everything there, but I really want to focus on this one thing that I kind of grouped together. Keep an open door and create an environment of fearlessness in providing 360 feedback. So what I'm hearing is that anybody can say anything without retribution, which, boy, isn't that refreshing. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'll add to a lot of what Stevie said, which is, it really echoes what I see in the space. And I think the perspective I would give is that I don't even think I'm asking you to get rid of the commissions or the KPIs that are financial based. I'm just asking for the customer experience, and I mean customer to mean client, talent, and internal staff. I'm just asking for that to have a seat at the table. And the best firms that we see, it's not that they are not still driven by financial success, because there's some aspect of that you have to be to create opportunities for these great recruiters that you're bringing in. But it doesn't take a lot, right? Start recognizing people for delivering great service. Our program focuses a lot. I think a lot of the survey programs are punitive in nature. And if you're a recruiter, you only hear about things that go wrong. And so we really push people. We have a feature called the shout out, which, if somebody gives a 9 or a 10, we say, hey, did somebody go above and beyond on your behalf? And about half of the people will name a recruiter or somebody that they've worked with directly at the firm by name. And that, creates this fantastic virtuous cycle of experience, because now as a recruiter, that's a hard job. And there's a lot of demands on my time. There's a lot of expectations. And we've talked a lot about elevating the job candidate, but in part, the job candidate sometimes can be frustrating too, right?
Oh,
I mean, anybody that's been in this industry for any amount of time has been let down by a job candidate that they really went to bat for. And so we have to be able to reinforce all of those positive aspects. And I tell a story all the time of early on having a conversation with somebody at Aquint that was, and they were late by about 8 minutes to the call. And they said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm at this trade show and I ran into somebody. Apparently we gave them their first job in this career change that they went through 17 years ago. And this gal could not stop talking my ear off about how much she loved Aquint and how much we'd done. And I tell that story because I that's what we have to look at every single interaction, is that this interaction might just be how I get this placement and match this person with that deal, but it could literally be transformational for that person. And we'll see it on like the light industrial side and stuff, especially during this past year, stuff that'll bring a tear to your eye. Had you not found us a position, we would have had to lose our home. If you had not found us a position, we couldn't have kept the medical care that we needed for my mother. I mean, really beyond just career, but actually life-changing, life-altering opportunities.
So I just made a typo in there. So what you're saying, Eric, without my typo, is that we need to think about the long-term potential impact with every interaction that we have on the client, talent, and internal side. So this was a head full, and I'd also like to ask one more question of you guys, and then I will let you off the hook. If you were in the room of a CEO, you were sitting in front of a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar staffing organization whose NPS rating was a 40 out of 100, what would you, and they ask you, what should I do as the leader of this organization? What's the first thing? I forget all the list. What is the first thing you would ask them to do of all of those things that you just said? Eric, why don't we go with you first?
Yeah, the first thing is elevate the role of experience within the organization. And so, start talking about the experiences, start telling stories of outlandish service, start reporting back scores and celebrating the top performing locations, the top performing account managers, the top performing recruiters, and really start to rebuild the culture that celebrates excellence in the customer experience.
Thank you. Stevie?
I think the one of the first things, and I've actually done this several times, is turn around to them and said, please go around and tell the people thank you. When was the last time you said thank you to somebody? Yeah. Right. And that really does. And it's amazing about people I've asked, 90% have said, oh my God, do I have to do that? And I said, if you want to go up by another 10 points, go around and say thank you and watch the energy and the drive that creates. I said, because they put you to where you are today. And more importantly, the talent, I put them forward to them today. I said, so make sure not only you're saying thank you to your team, but you're saying thank you to all your talent you place. And we send out little biscuits to everybody who we place. It's just a little thank you, because it's just something to do that. It's just really important. And I absolutely agree with Eric. It's like elevate those stories, those personal stories. And I've got hundreds of them of where Some are very emotional, which I've actually cried, where I've actually been invited to a funeral of one of my talent, and the family wanted me to be there because I made a difference to that family. So that's the sort of things that we should be telling the people out there to do and recruit, because recruiters are amazing people if they do it right. They change people's lives, and it's the most rewarding future for people. So it's just a case, just be a human being in recruitment, and the wealth of life and finances will come to you.
And on that note, that is a great way to wrap this session up, Stevie. Thank you so much. From Eric, Stevie, and myself, my hope is that if you are a staffing industry leader, that you take the feedback seriously, that Eric has a very high level view of what's going on in the industry. And if you need help in improving your CX, then Eric is the guy for you to go to. If you are in London and you need exceptional services in the creative domain, Stevie is the person to help your organization and help your career get to where you want it to be. And gentlemen, thank you so very much. I am in awe of your continued support of my passion, which is to make the industry a better place. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.